Okay, chapter 5, justifications as defense. And self-defense is one of the justifications that we'll be talking about. So, a defense, evidence, arguments offered by a defendant as his or her attorney show why the person should not be held. We're not arguing that we didn't do it. This is one of those arguments that says, yes, I did it, but. This is the reason, my excuse, why I should not be found guilty of this charge. I did it, but. Two types of defenses called legal and factual. The legal is where the officers, maybe the arresting officers made a mistake, a procedural error. Therefore, you cannot find me guilty of this crime. Example, I was questioned and even confessed to the crime. I was never advised of my Miranda rights. That confession's thrown out. Can't do that. A search warrant not properly executed, or a search conducted without probable cause. Okay, those are legal issues that would get a case thrown out. Factual is they got the facts wrong. It wasn't me, it was the other guy. You got the wrong person. I had an alibi. It just wasn't me. Factual. In both instances, I was hoping this was going to talk about an affirmative defense. Okay, I'm actually arguing a position, saying why I'm not guilty. Be careful not to say why I'm innocent. Because remember, nobody's innocent. We're guilty of something. Maybe not this, but we're guilty of something. Not guilty. Okay? Affirmative. I'm taking action to prove why I'm not guilty. The other is just sit back, let the prosecutor present their case, and you argue. Your attorney argues all these facts. You don't present any evidence, you don't present any witnesses. You just try to poke holes. That's the most common defense you see. They just like to poke holes. Remember, reasonable doubt. You only need one juror out of 12 to not buy what the DA is selling. Factual defense, the defendant simply asserts they didn't do it. Okay, they didn't do it. And here's the alibi. Justification, the defendant admits to committing the act in question, claims it was necessary to avoid a greater evil. Yes, I did shoot that person, but had I not shot them, they were going to cause harm to my family. Then you got to prove that it's affirmative defense. Now you got to prove it. Get the witnesses. Show the evidence. Why this jury should believe you. You acted in defense of your family. And excuses, defendant claims some personal condition or circumstance at the time of the act such that he or she could not be held accountable under criminal law. I have an excuse. Both of these have in common that an injury or damage has been caused by a human being. I have an excuse. The most common one you're going to see under excuse, a mental condition. I have a mental condition. I didn't know what I was doing at the time of the crime. I knew it was wrong after the fact, but not beforehand. And I don't even remember doing this. So now we got to evaluate this person's mental stability before you can move forward in court. Duress. I wouldn't have done this, but they were holding my family hostage. A lot of good movies made with that. They were holding my family hostage. And they said if I didn't rob this bank, the bank, which I'm the manager, bring home all this cash and give it to the bank robbers, they were going to hurt my family. Duress. So it's an excuse. And it is a legal defense. Justifiable, the lesser of two evils. Conduct that a person believes is necessary to avoid harm or evil to him or herself, to avoid harm to another. There's case law where homicide is justifiable. They can make, again, good movies. I do like a good movie. Good movies. 3 men are out on a boat. They're shipwrecked. They're starving. They're gonna die. One of the 3 isn't doing too well anyway. The other 2 are pretty hungry. See where I'm going with this? Yeah. So they have to take him out so they can survive. The lesser of 2 evils. There was a ship that was just adrift in the middle of the ocean. And actually it wasn't even a ship, it was like a life something. They were just hanging on to it. And I think it was 3 men again. It was always guys. Guys do dumb things. So 3 guys stuck in the middle of the ocean. But this life supporter can only support 2 of them. One of them's got to let go so the other 2 can survive. There was another case, mountain climbers suspended off a rope. The rope can only sustain the weight of one of the 2. So one of them had to let go so the other could survive. Justifiable, lesser of 2 evils, doesn't make the action right. But when you look at the picture, here's the term, remember this one, totality of the circumstance, the big picture, you can understand it, why they made that decision. Excuse does not claim that the conduct in question was justified, but that the actor who engaged in it at the time was not legally responsible for his or her action. Not legally responsible. It's an excuse. Just think, I did it, but. But actually some authors call it the but excuse. 1 T, not 2 T's. B-U-T, the but excuse. But for, I've even seen that published. The but for excuse. But for these circumstances, I would have never done what I did. It's an excuse. Didn't want to do it. Didn't want to do it, but I had to, given the circumstances. Okay, here we go. Now we're going to talk affirmative defense. I mentioned it a few slides ago. Defenses are different from other defenses because the burden shifts from the prosecutor to the defense. Remember, in a court of law for a criminal case, it's the prosecution's responsibility to prove the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Remember, that's important. Beyond a reasonable doubt. That means all 12 jurors have to agree. Guilty. That's what the prosecution does. But when we start pulling out excuses and we have a defense, the burden shifts now. It's not up to the DA. The assumption is that the crime was committed. The DA doesn't have to prove it because the defense isn't arguing it. They're saying, yeah, we agree. The crime did happen, but this is why. And when that but comes into play, the burden of proof shifts. Okay, everybody follow that? Any questions? This is really important. No, y'all get it. Damn, I'm good, right? I'm good. So the burden shifted from the prosecution to the defense to prove why they were justified in their actions. Why they're mentally incapable. Why they did what they did in the heat of the moment. There's another one. Crime of passion. Heat of the moment. Okay. I did it, but. Unlike other defenses, these place the burden of production, persuasion on the defendant. Everything changes. Remember, the defense has to prove, convince the jury, not only that the crime they did was committed, but why they committed it, the reasons. In a traditional case, the defense is arguing, no, this is not the way it happened. My client was not guilty, is not guilty of this crime. And the prosecution has to prove that the crime happened and that the defendant is responsible for that crime. Okay, we get that, right? In a straight prosecution. But when we go to the affirmative, it's weird because it changes. You gotta make sure you understand that. Failure to raise an affirmative defense in a timely manner does have serious consequences. The defendant loses the right to present this defense at trial. Everybody's familiar with how trials happen, right? We go from the arraignment, prelims, then it gets held over, goes to trial. At the arraignment, remember what the judge asks the defendant? First thing, how do you plead? How do you plead? As soon as he asks that, that's when this affirmative defense has to come into play. Has to come in that soon, because both sides have to start preparing for trial. There's no surprises. This is where TV and movies get it wrong. There's no surprises in the trial. Everybody knows what's going to happen. Okay, they know which witnesses are going to be called. They know which evidence is going to be presented ahead of time, so they can prepare accordingly. So if I'm going to raise an affirmative defense, I have to do it during arraignment. Your Honor, my client pleads not guilty because, and we intend to prove. And then they go on to lay down the foundation of their affirmative defense. Okay. Successfully raised defense may have the effect of completely exonerating the defendant of any criminal liability if everything goes exactly right. It's possible. When claims offered by the defendant are not sufficient for a verdict of not guilty, they may still mitigate the culpability. And the court may be persuaded to find him guilty of a lesser crime. And that's important because then they can minimize the sentence. So the court kind of believes it. Okay, yeah, I get it. I see why you did what you did. But you didn't have to do so much of it to that degree. So it's kind of, yeah, we kind of buy it, but. Here we go again, but. All right. Any questions here? Justifications include, here's a whole list. Necessity, self-defense, defense of others, defense of home and property, resisting. Please don't buy into this one. I should take it off this slide. Resisting unlawful arrest, don't do it. And then, of course, consent. Ask Tyreek. Ask Tyreek how that went for him. And he's the first to admit, I should have resisted. Don't. Yes, I know my rights. I know you can't make me do. All you're doing is pissing off a cop. Yeah, they should get upset, but remember, they're still human. You couldn't get under their skin. And they may do something they're going to regret later. But it doesn't make it right for you to cause a problem. Resisting an unlawful arrest. Don't do it. That's my best advice. Technically, you're within your rights to resist an unlawful arrest. But remember, you heard it here. Don't do it. Necessity, a defense to a criminal charge. We're going to go through these, 6 bullets, slide by slide. And I'll try to do as quickly as possible. Defense to a criminal charge claims that it was necessary to commit some unlawful act in order to prevent or avoid a greater harm. I had to. The Model Penal Code says that the principle of necessity is essential to the rationality and justice of the criminal law. It also says the Model Penal Code states necessity can only be claimed where the evil to be avoided is less than the actual harm caused. It's tough. Your Honor, it was necessary for me to break down the front door, drag this person out of their home in the middle of the night. Yes, I broke their legs going down the hall, but had I not done that, they were going to die. The house was on fire. So to avoid death, they ended up sustaining some other injury. Lesser of two evils. Not the best example, but that's the best I can come up on the fly. Lesser of two evils. Do we get that? Yes. If you're alive, go like this. Yeah. Some of you are alive. Self-defense, here we go. Based on the recognition that a person has an inherent right to self-protection and that to reasonably defend oneself from unlawful attack is a natural response to a threatening situation. It can be said that a person who acts in self-defense lacks the requisite mens rea for the commission of a crime, the mental intent. I didn't intend to harm this person, but when they attacked me, I fucked that. I broke their nose. Then they're laying down claiming that I attacked them, that I was the aggressor. I only acted in self-defense. Now remember, self-defense gets tricky. We got my bullies, only one bully, and it's a one-on-one, and we're fighting. And it's pretty evenly matched. It's physical, no weapons, nothing's going on. Pretty evenly matched. All of a sudden, one of the two has the upper hand. The other one's on the ground now. And the other party's now mounted on top of them, pounding on them. Then they get up and they start kicking them. Still self-defense? No! No. Once the threat is mitigated, you must stop your actions. It's no longer self-defense. Now it's a full act of battery. It shifted, the tide shifted. It started off as a mutual combat. But once the other one gets the upper hand, you gotta stop. Same thing goes in law enforcement. Okay, same thing, and cops get in trouble all the time because of this. Once you've restrained the suspect, they no longer pose a threat. All applications of force, stop. You don't give them an extra swing of the baton. An extra punch. You want to. Sometimes you do want to, but you don't, because it's wrong. Once you've controlled the threat, you stop. Is that clear? Makes sense too. Talks more about self-defense. I think you get it. Force. No. Yeah, I guess they do. Good. Okay, yeah, we're going to talk about force. During my heydays, oh boy, this is 2024. So from about 1996, right? 1996. You're laughing because you weren't born yet. That's what I was afraid of. 1996 to about 2000, I was the use of force analyst and subject matter expert for all of Southern California. I reviewed all applications of force in the prisons. I think we had like 13, 14 prisons. So if anyone used force that was questionable, it came across my desk. I worked in the regional office. So I analyzed these things. So when I'm talking about how force is supposed to be applied, pay attention. You're getting it straight from the subject matter expert. So force. Context self-defense means physical force, does not extend to emotional, psychological, or even verbal. It's not in there. Yeah, he called me or she called me a bad name, and oh, it hurt so bad. That's not force. It's bad manners, but it ain't force. Okay, so force is actual physical, that something is going on. Contact is being made. Okay, it's got to be clear. Contact, physical force is being made. Because if it's not, but I tried, I missed, it's not force. That's an attempt, but it's not actual application of force. The amount of force used by those who seek to defend themselves from unlawful attack must be proportionate, like the example I gave. We're on one-on-one, we're defending ourselves. As soon as I think I've protected myself to the degree that person no longer poses a threat to me, I need to stop and back off, reevaluate. Most likely, they just want to turn around and go home or go to the hospital, whatever the case may be. Does not give you the right to knock them to the ground and continue beating them. Okay. Same thing goes for law enforcement. Once you've restrained the suspect, they no longer pose a threat to you. Doesn't give the officer the right to continue to administer any types of force. There's different degrees of force. Hopefully this presentation will talk about it. Reasonable, degree of force is appropriate, not excessive. Just enough force to counter the threat. So if we're gonna fight fist to fist, that's what I do. Doesn't give me the right to take out a gun and shoot him. Now she was gonna hit me, so I shot her. Or even to take out a taser, a stun gun, and shoot him with a taser. Maybe if they're a lot bigger. Okay, say I'm a little tiny person, and this person's like 10 feet tall, 300 pounds, solid muscle. Hell yeah, I'm gonna tase him. I'm not gonna go fist to fist with this person. Tase him, gas him. I love gas. Okay, pepper spray, OZ spray, that's some good stuff. Okay, you say, oh no, it doesn't do anything. Bull. It will knock you out of commission. So you have options for force. But if it's equal, the threat is equal to my ability, I can go to meet that and then one step up, one notch up. So if I think we're equally matched, I'll probably take out some gas. I just got a new uniform. I don't want to get it dirty. I've lost more uniforms like that. I don't want to get it dirty and torn up. When I was in San Quentin, they actually scratched my face like a girl. I had to go get shots for that one. It was sad. That's how they fight. He scratched. Then he tried to hit me with a damn phone. Big old rotary phones, the ones that go the dial time before your time too. Yeah, he did get me back in the back of the head. But anyway, that's force. Okay, reasonable, just enough to mitigate the threat. Deadly or lethal. This word here, where it says non-deadly in the power, that's from the publisher. There's no such thing. It's lethal and less than lethal. Those are the terms we use. Okay, so, but in this case, they're calling it deadly. But think of it lethal. Lethal force. When I say lethal force, what comes to mind? What kind of force? Lethal. Shooting someone. Somebody over here?
Like a knife.
A knife. Good. Anybody else? No? Okay. Lethal. A knife. A gun. Right? Something that has the potential to take somebody's life. Pretty much, right? But what if I'm a martial arts expert? My hands are licensed to kill. Right? Yeah. There's people like that. And I go in to restrain this individual. Using only my hands, I punch him just like that, in a certain position in the throat. And I end up killing him. Did I apply deadly force? Lethal? Hell yeah, I did. These cases have been argued in court too, a long time ago, but they were argued. Hands can be considered lethal. Yeah, this pen is mightier than the sword. Sure the hell is. Right through the eyeball, right through the eye, in through the ear, hit the jugular. Hell yeah, this can cause some damage. 1983. I know nobody was born around there. 83 maybe?
I was born in 85.
85. Okay, 1983. I'm fighting a Cuban refugee in prison. Son of a bitch cut me with a tweezer. Cut me right across the stomach with a tweezer. He had taken tweezers, you know, little tweezers, broke it, used a cone, melted it, formed a little ball on the one end, sharpened the other one, stuck it through his fingers like this. He was stabbing another Cuban. I didn't know he even had a weapon. I pulled him off the one guy, he spun on me and caught me right across the stomach. I didn't even know he had hit me yet, so I ended up restraining him, put him in cuffs, taking him out, and my partner tells me, hey, you've been hit. And I look down and I have blood coming down. Son of a bitch. Tore my shirt and my t-shirt. Damn, I was mad. Okay, so deadly force. That tweezer I just told you about, could that be considered deadly?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so you get the picture. Lethal. We often think a gun, a knife, because that's the most commonly used types of weapons associated with lethal force. But just about anything can be considered lethal if the person wielding it knows what they're doing. Retreat requires that a person being attacked retreat in order to avoid the necessity of using force against the attacker if retreat can be accomplished. And that's the caveat right there. Complete safety. We're going to talk about the castle rule. God, I hope it's in here. In the next couple of slides. The castle rule. Do you have a right to defend your home? Yeah. Even in California. You do have a right to defend your home. You do not have the right to kill someone in your home unless they pose life-threatening ability. They're in your kitchen. My bully is in the kitchen. Remember I told you she put her hands up? Well, how about now she pulls a gun? Because I'm coming through the bedroom. I say, hey, what are you doing? She pulls a gun out. Can I take the shot? Yeah. Yeah, because she's not only broken into my home, but now she's got a gun in her hand, pointed at me, and I shoot her. Killed her. And I go and I look and I make sure she's dead. Remove the gun from her hand, and when I move it out of the way, it felt really light. Upon closer examination, notice it's made out of plastic. It's a freaking toy gun. Oh boy. Do I switch it out, put a real gun? What do I do? What's going to happen to me now? Nothing. At the time of the event, I believe my life was in jeopardy. I wholeheartedly believed this person had the ability to shoot and kill me at that moment. So I took the necessary course of action. This is also true to officers on the street. You must retreat if you can, even in your own home. If you can do so safely. Yeah, safely. If you can't, then you have the right to defend your home. Stand your ground. Permits the use of deadly force to repel life or limb-threatening force in public spaces with no duty to retreat. Requires a reasonable belief that the use of force is needed to repel that threat. You must be able to convince a jury that had you not acted in the manner that you did, you or someone else was going to get seriously injured, potentially killed. And you have about a split second to make that decision. It's tough. Anybody want to ever pursue this further? Let me know. We have use of force, what do they call it? We have a whole room of simulators. Yeah, we even bought a vehicle that is a simulator. You get in there, we give you the call, and you respond. And then we project certain images, and you interact with what's going on in this scene. We arm you with different types of weapons. And you get to respond to the scene, and then make the call. Shoot, don't shoot. And you'll see before how tough it is to make that decision, and you'll never criticize anybody else. Because it is really, really difficult. Stand your ground. You can literally stand your ground. You're not required by law to move. Unless it's an option. Remember the previous slide? Complete safety requires you to retreat. So we're telling you, you must retreat. But then we're telling you, you can stand your ground. Clear as mud, right? Yeah. You have the right to stand your ground. But if you can retreat, get out of there. Diffuse. My best cops I ever had an exceptional skill to diffuse a situation. Talk somebody down. Keep them from actually committing a stupid crime. Those are the guys I want. It's easy to provoke somebody into doing something stupid. Done that too. But it's much more difficult to talk somebody down. You're more valuable. Yeah.
I know Florida is big on this one, but is it here in California?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I would have never guessed it. But yeah, Florida's number one in my book. About defense, stand your ground, all that other stuff. California's not too far behind, surprisingly.
Wow, I never hear about it here.
No, but it is true. Protect self-defense. Perfect self-defense requires, in light of circumstances, the defendant reasonably believe to be necessary to kill the descendant, to avert imminent death, great bodily harm. Defendant must not have been the initial aggressor provoking the fatal confrontation. Perfect self-defense. You were the victim of something, an act. Could have been a theft, maybe a theft, at gunpoint. They stop you in an alley. You're with your wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, and they want your watch, they want your wallet, they want the keys to your car, they want all these things. And you're willing to give them whatever they're asking for, you just want no trouble. But at some point you figure these guys are gonna harm us anyway, no matter what we do. You decide to act. You're trained, so you act. Only one of them's holding a gun. And you were able to disarm this person. They have your goods and they decide they want to run. You grab their own gun and start shooting at them, take them both down. Didn't kill them, but sometimes it's even worse, but you didn't kill them. You did stop them. Was that self-defense? You say, no, no. You cannot use deadly force, the gun, when somebody doesn't pose a deadly threat. You just want your stuff back. The law doesn't provide for that circumstance. Your Honor, I shot them in the back because they were leaving with my wallet. And we used to have video club membership cards before at Blockbuster. We used to have these cards, you had to go down and buy a video. So anyway, my video membership card was in that wallet and it was hard to get, so I shot them. I didn't want to lose my video card. No. No. Property, no matter how important you think it might be, it's just property. It can be replaced. Human lives cannot. Think twice. Perfect defense. You can only act in relation to the threat. So if they have a knife, you pull a gun. That's okay. 1 degree up. If they don't have anything, say, but they're a bigger person and they look pretty aggressive, but you have OC pepper spray, or pepper spray. Shoot them with it. Works pretty good. It'll defend you. It'll blind them, give you the opportunity to get the hell out of there. Okay. Perfect defense. Defense of others. This is also called alter ego. There's so many case laws on this thing. Good Samaritan law. Anybody familiar with that one? Good Samaritan? You can't be found culpable of a crime if you're acting in good faith to defend someone else, to help someone, to assist. Can't. If it were, I like helping people. Okay, I really do. But coming to the defense of somebody else, it puts me, myself, my family, in the line of fire, criminally liable. Especially, when these cases are coming, especially, we're talking about domestic dispute. A domestic dispute. You see two people arguing. It looks like it's going to get physical. So you want to be the hero and say, oh, let's step back here and take a moment here. Let's calm down. Don't do that. Because now most likely they're going to turn their anger right at you. Mind your own business. Yeah, mind your own business. And you're going to be the one that gets your butt whooped. You have no responsibility. There is no, it's called duty. You have no duty to get involved in defense of others. The only cases I've seen is people that want to be a hero. And I'll step in, I'll save the day. I won't. Hell no. Let them fend for themselves. I'm not going to get involved. I'm not on the job. Yeah, I'm not working. I'm not going to do it. Now, if you are active, you're an officer, you're in uniform, you represent your department, you have an obligation. You have a duty to get involved. Okay, but as a civilian, you don't. So my advice, don't do this. Let's see, hang on. Here's the alter ego. Okay, let's go through this one. States that follow the model penal code does not recognize the alter ego. A rule in some jurisdictions holds that a person can only defend a third party under circumstances and only to the degree that that third party could act on his or her own defense. What does that mean? Who can tell me? With a nice soda or whatever that is. What does that mean? Go ahead, tell me. You know what you're going to say, right? I don't know. Nobody does. That's the thing. Nobody really knows. Think about this. You come across a situation, these two people are, maybe they're even fighting, and you get involved. But you're a trained fighter. This person doesn't know what they're doing. You end up beating the heck out of the other person. You're the one that's going to get in trouble. How do you know what that person's ability is? This is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. You don't. But yet the law says you can only defend this person according to this person's ability. That's what it says. How? My advice, right? Don't do it. Be a good witness. So when the officers show up, be a good witness. Saw the whole thing. Okay, it gets more into the alter ego, but I think that's enough. Defense of home and property. Protection of personal property. Defense of home. Another's property. Use of a mechanical device to protect property. I talked about Florida a second ago. Florida got in trouble. A merchant was getting robbed routinely. So they put up a mechanical device. They put up these doors that would come down, and they'd roll them up during the day and then bring them down at night, so these people couldn't break in. They couldn't break into a store. Well, they found a way around that. The merchant got tired of this crap, so he says, you know what, I'm going to electrify. I'm going to put that gate back, and now I'm going to run some juice through it. What do you think happened? Think about it. Those idiots came back. I don't think anyone died, but they sure got lit up pretty good. They filed a civil suit against the merchant for electrifying, what do you call it? Aggress, point of aggress. And they won. Ain't that something? The man's only trying to defend, this happened in Florida, he's trying to defend his property. You can only defend it this point to a point. You can't put moats with alligators as much as you like. You can't put little, what's those, 50 caliber machine guns pointed down at your point of entry. That would be nice. So if somebody tries to break in, lights them up. Yeah. No, you can't do that. Within reason, it's got to be reasonable. You can protect your property. Most jurisdictions, the owner of the property can justifiably use reasonable, non-deadly force to prevent others from unlawfully damaging taking property. That guy I was telling you about, the court considered it more than just not reasonably non-lethal. It could have been lethal. And so, it didn't go too good. The preservation of human life outweighs the protection of any property. That's what the law says. The use of deadly force to protect property is not justified unless the perp of the illegal act may intend to commit a violent act against another human being. So if they're breaking into your property, they're armed, they're maybe even displaying firearms, and you're the owner of the property and you see and confront them, then yeah, you could respond with deadly force because you're matching the threat. You're not exceeding it, you're matching it. Castle, here we go. The castle, this is your home. This is an exception to the retreat rule that recognizes a person's fundamental right to be in his or her home, recognizes the home as a final, inviolable place of retreat. Inviolable, that's a good word. So yeah, if you're in your home, you have the right to defend your property. To a degree. Remember the force, the threat. You can only counter the threat with equal force and then just a little bit more. That's it, just a little bit more. Don't go crazy on this one. Some states have not codified the conditions. Most of them have not. But California did a few years back. Few states extended the castle rule to cars, boats, RVs, and other areas where people live. They call it the castle rule. Still counts. If I'm in my RV, which we spend about half the year traveling, I have every right to defend my property, my home, as if I were sitting in my actual home. You know, you've heard my position on this, right? Don't do it. What is an unlawful arrest? You don't know. I've had students say, well, I was driving down the road. The officers hit me with a light, so I pulled over. They drew guns on me, ordered me out of the vehicle. As soon as I stepped out, they put me on the ground, cuffed me up, roughed me up a little bit, and threw me in the back of the cruiser. Took him down to the station. Get him at the station, he was advised of his rights. They went by the book. And questioned. Turned out there was a suspect, a dangerous suspect on the loose, matched his description. The description of the vehicle and the location were similar enough. The officers really believed this was the guy they were looking for. Okay, was that an unlawful arrest? Maybe. Yes? No? At the time, think about this. What if he would have resisted? Because he knew he wasn't the guy. He knew it. Meets the code, meets the definition. It was unlawful in the eyes of the person being arrested. But what about through the eyes of law enforcement? They didn't know. They're acting to protect the community, to remove this threat. And this person was similar. The descriptions were really close. Had this person decided to resist, it could have got real ugly. Because the officers weren't going to be listening. They weren't in a receptive mood. Thank goodness he didn't. Went along with it, went all the way down to the station where he was questioned. Come to find out, the officers admitted we were wrong. We got the wrong guy. They released him. No harm, no foul. But boy, that could have got ugly. So please, guys, you don't know what officers are thinking. To you, you know you're innocent. You know you didn't do anything. But you don't know what they know. What they're thinking. Just go with it. Please, just roll with it. Do what they're asking you to do. Comply. Don't be a smart ass. What's your name? I don't have to tell you that. I know my rights. There's a lot of videos out there. People actually telling you to resist, to know your rights. I'm telling you just the opposite. Just go along with it. It's just not worth it. And this is more unlawful arrests. Don't do it, don't do it. Let's talk about consent. You have the right to give consent to law enforcement to search your home, search your property, search you. You have certain rights to protect yourself against unlawful search, unlawful seizures. But the Constitution gives you this consent where you can waive it. The officers say, excuse me, you know why I stopped you? You say, yeah, I know why. Say, do you mind if I search your vehicle? And you say, yeah, go ahead, I got nothing to hide. Okay, please step out. And you step out. Then you remember, oh shoot, my partner was in the back seat yesterday. He likes his dope. He left his bag back there. I have no idea what the hell's in that bag. So you have the right to give consent. You have the right to withdraw consent. So you think, ooh, you forgot about that. Officer, no, I changed my mind. Please quit searching my vehicle. I withdraw my consent. The officers are supposed to stop. Notice I threw in supposed to stop. Withdraw from the vehicle. If they have reasonable suspicion or probable cause, they can get a warrant and still search your vehicle. Chances are they don't. And so in that case, you were okay. But what if you didn't stop them in time and they got to the bag? And when they open the bag, they see something that looks suspicious. That's when you remember. You say, no, now I withdraw my consent. Do the officers have to stop and retreat? No, now they have cause. Okay, they found enough. With your consent, they found enough now they have probable cause to continue the search. Okay? So you have the right to consent, you have the right to withdraw consent. Clear? And then it talks more about consent. Okay, questions about anything we talked about today? Let me stop this recording. No, everything was clear as mud, right? I know some of the stuff was like, wait a minute.